What's up, YouTube? The name is on the shirt, and let me welcome you to another video from the applifestyle.org. Your one-stop shop for all things rideshare and deliver your life. In this video, we'll be covering Ubereats Zones, and it's going to take everything that you've learned so far in the course and combine it into one. And the fundamentals video is very important here. Remember that creativity and critical thinking? It's all about to come to a head right here. So, Ubereats Zones. Y'all already have your quadrants broken down and your hotspots assigned. Now, if you don't, that's mandatory for this. If you don't have that done, you need to go back to the previous course. Because if you don't have that done, none of this will make sense. It will go completely over your head, okay? Now, Ubereats Zones is literally the art of valuing certain parts of your market, okay? You got to know where to go to, what is the golden nugget and what is, maybe I need to stay away from that. You got to be able to evaluate that. That's why the previous Ubereats course, it needs to have reached the awareness phase where you're not even thinking about that. You're already doing that by default, and it makes you aware of certain things. And when you come to this video, what you have already been aware of, you'll be able to use it to effectively reach your goal, whatever it is. So, Ubereats Zones. What an Ubereats Zone is literally you're going to assign what something is based on factors. We're going to bring up the Saints Row 2 Stillwater map again, because we will actually be referring to it a lot in this video. So get kind of used to seeing it. But now I got to pull it up on my end, but y'all can already see it. But you want to look at three factors, okay? A Ubereats Zone is factored. It's literally a combination of these three factors, and you're going to assign a number to each. So, first thing is the money. You give a range of how much money you make when you are in that zone, okay? So, combining factors are boosts and tips. Quests are not factored in here. Why? Because for the most part, at least at the time of this recording, quests are just, you do them anywhere and you get credit. Like, for an example, I could be in Dallas, I could be in Fort Worth, I could be in Grapevine, it doesn't matter. As long as I complete the trip, I get credit for that quest. So it's not exclusive to like a certain part of the city. So quests are not factored. But boosts and tips, they're factors. So, let's say for the red zone of Stillwater, that's going to throw a number range out there. I tend to make between $13 and $16 an hour. Now, you can get more precise with the range. It really depends on how analytical you want to get. If you want, you can literally look up trips and do the math. Me, I just do a general range because I have a feel for that part of the city. So I know how much money I generally make when I go to that quadrant, okay? So you want to assign a money value. We'll just go ahead and assign the money value of this red quadrant. Since it's on the lower part of it, I would give it like a 6, okay? Now, the next thing you want to look into is the amount of effort. Okay, gonna have fun with this. How hard is it on you? I mean, is it easy peasy, or is it actually kind of tiring or mentally tiring to hang out in that part of the city? The mentally tiring is that maybe the customers aren't the best. That plays a role too. Or physically tiring, maybe it has to deal with, there's a lot of stairs or things that, you know, physically is tiring you. Both of those are components to put in. Now, in Saints Row 2, they have a difficulty setting. You can go on easy, normal, and hardcore, okay? So let's say our red quadrant has a lot of things that make the effort kind of hard, okay? Let's say it has apartment buildings, concierges, customers that aren't the best. Maybe they have a stuck-up, entitled mentality. All those factors. So I would put the difficulty of the red zone, hardcore, okay? Next is, what is the quality of restaurants in that area? this determines the activity scenarios for the area too. Because places in the city that have very popular restaurants, so remember the activity scenarios in part 3, usually they're going to stay on the higher side. Just in general, like even if it is there are factors that are contributing to it being overall slow on Uber Eats, well, those restaurants may have more activity than, let's say, other restaurants. That's one thing. Now, the second thing is, do the restaurants yield the type of trips that you want? Only you can answer that. And that can vary based on the time. But generally, a lot of us have like a set strategy. Like some people, they want 2 medium trips to keep them within that $11 to $18 range. Some people want a long trip and then a shorter baby trip. And some people want to do like 3 or 4 short trips. That's a personal preference. And sometimes that's going to get mixed up, obviously, because you can't see where we're going. But if you could have it your way, which one would you prefer? And are those restaurants in that area giving you those types of trips? As a collective, and you got the occasional one that may not, but as a collective, are they giving you what you want in general on average? And one thing to be factored into the restaurants is the wait time. Do they keep you waiting, or do they have their stuff together? As a collective, in general, like you may have restaurants that like they're cool. Other restaurants, they're always getting their butts kicked, and some fall in the middle. But based on those restaurants, kind of assign a number to it. Now, I would say, let's say in the red category. Or the red quadrant, rather. So the red quadrant has actually good restaurants. They usually like the food is usually always ready, not much wait time, so that's great. But they offer a lot of short trips, and I don't favor short trips at this particular time, so that kind of drops it, okay? So based on those factors, I would give it a 6, okay? So, all right, here we get to the fun part. So when you look at these factors, the money range for the red quadrant between $13 and $16 an hour. The effort in terms of difficulty setting is hardcore, okay? Based on those factors that we talked about. And the restaurants, just as a collective value, is just like a 6. These factors literally give you the ability to value that zone in the city. So, is it worth your time? Is $13 to $16 an hour worth entering the hardcore difficulty per se in terms of effort? Because, in video games, you got a difficulty, but usually if you have a higher difficulty on, usually the rewards are bigger. Like, hey, you beat the game on hardcore mode and you get X, Y, Z. Or maybe you just want the challenge of it being more difficult. But usually there is a reward of some sort. And a lot of times, like, the reward is not just in money, but it's also the quality of restaurants too. If they have good quality restaurants, you're not having to wait that long. Let's say they're kind of high quality, so a chance of tipping is higher, etc. That can be your reward. But is there a reward? Now, only you can determine that. Me personally, I would determine that it's worth it if it's slow. But if it's not slow, that's not my cup of tea. You see how I just took all those factors and evaluated if it's worth it and moved on? Now, the key factor for me, which makes it not worth it, is the fact that I'll be trapped there. Remember how I've identified that the restaurants just give me short trips? Well, these quadrants, they're really like just 5 miles apart. So if it's giving me short trips, then it's going to have me mostly going in a circle for the most part. I'm going to be stuck in this part of the city with all these hard factors. Now, that wouldn't be such a bad thing if the range was more like $15 to $18 an hour. But since it's not my priority. So let's look at our green quadrant. You're probably thinking, well, green means it's going to be good, right? Well, green is the color of money, but anyway. The green quadrant. These are very nice, appreciatory people. They're always in a good mood. They're always smiling. They stay in houses, and they always tip. Now, the area doesn't really have a boost zone, but based on everything I just said, the money zone is between $15 and $18 an hour. So the boost is lower than other parts of the city. people are tipping. Yeah, I could work with that because it gives me a pretty decent money range, right? Then we look at the effort. Now, last I checked, delivering the houses is probably the easiest thing in this gig, right? I mean, if it's not, let me know in the comments below, but I'm going to go on a limb and say that y'all are on my page with it being probably the easiest thing, okay? So in the difficulty setting, I would say that easy fits. It's the easiest difficulty. And then we look at the restaurants. They give you medium trips. That's pretty interesting because medium trips between 3 to 6 miles. Hey, guess what? Normally, like a short trip is short and it keeps you within your zone. But let's say the payoff may not be as big as you want it to. In a long trip, it may give you the payoff, but it takes you out of the zone. The medium trip will give you a decent payout, but still keep you within the zone, or it might take you slightly out, but it doesn't take that long to piggyback to your zone. So I would give that, excuse me, but I would give the restaurants in that area, and there's no wait time, so they always have the food ready. I would give the restaurants a 10. So now we're looking at the potential reward between $15 and $18 an hour. The difficulty setting is easy, and the type of restaurants, what I'm looking for at that time is medium trips it gives. So does it make sense to do that? I would say it does. You see the difference between green and red? Let's take this a step further. Let's look at some of the other colors. Let's go to our yellow quadrant, which I know on the Saints Row 2 map is the fattest quadrant, but yeah, just work with me. So the yellow quadrant gives you between $17 and $14 an hour. Okay. It has a decent boost zone, but generally speaking, it's kind of low on tips. But the boost zone is kind of high enough to compensate for that. So it works out to that money range. Cool. Now, effort-wise, there are some houses, but there's some apartment buildings, like skyscrapers, and then there are some apartment complexes, okay? That's kind of a mixed bag. So it's kind of like hitting the lottery as far as what you're gonna get. So effort-wise, I would say that will be medium or the normal setting. It's not easy, but I wouldn't put it in hardcore because it's a mixed bag. So it's the normal difficulty setting, okay? Now, you go to the restaurants. It has a host of long and medium trips. Now, that's cool, but the mix of long and medium means there's a good chance it's going to take you out of the quadrant, since it doesn't have any short trips, and if it doesn't just have medium trips. So, in terms of restaurants, the wait time, sometimes you do have to wait, but it's just about 5 minutes. So that's really best if you didn't have to wait, but what are you gonna do? So is that worth it? $17 to $14 an hour, difficulty setting normal. And restaurants, we'll give that a 8. Is that worth it? Only you can decide. Let's swing to the orange category. Orange category, the money zone is between $15 and $12. Okay? It has a boost, but it's not like on the highest boost level, kind of medium. People tip moderately, so it's like just kind of evens out to that range. Okay? And the effort wise, it's full of apartment complexes and an occasional house, but there's a lot of apartment complexes. Now, me personally, apartment complexes they are what they are. They take more time than houses, but I would put them in a lower category than skyscrapers, obviously. So, difficulty setting, I would say that it evens out to be normal. Now, one thing about the effort setting, you gotta weigh in like the mental and the physical. Like me, I'm a very athletic person, so physically, it's not that big a deal. But if that is some kind of block for you, then you might want to put that on a higher difficulty level. I just gotta keep that in mind because the effort category, that is kind of what determines how long you stay out there. Think of, maybe not in Saints Row 2, but just any game where you're Metal Gear Solid. Okay, so like Metal Gear Solid 4, Solid Snake has a sight gauge, and it's determined based on his mental state and his physical activity. And it decreases ever so slowly as he's more stressed, etc. So if all this effort is putting more stress on your body, then chances of you going home gets higher and higher. Now, chances are you're not going to go home. You're going to probably soldier through it. But we can all agree that anytime you're in the right mindset to do something, it always runs more smoothly. And you keep that mindset in the most smooth frame possible, everything runs smoothly. Now, when you start, it gets beyond that, that's when you have to force yourself to stay out there, and that's mentally taxing. So think of that as what's measuring the effort. But for me, I would consider that on the medium difficulty level. Then the restaurants, they don't give you any trouble with wait time. So you walk in there and you pick the food up. So looking at those factors, would that be worth it? You see how all these zones, I literally just broke them down to determine if they're worth it. Now, based on those factors, the red zone I stay the hell away from, unless the boost gets raised. Like, the red zone, the money range isn't worth it dealing with the amount of effort in restaurants. But if Uber was to raise the boost in that area, then I would consider it. So for the red zone, I have a standard amount or a standard boost that it has to be in order for me to do that area. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. If I get a request there, I turn the app off and go back to one of the other quadrants. Now, what about the green area? Now, the green area is the most favorable among those. Let's say if I'm in a position where, like, just in terms of being close, like, you got a little space between the orange and the green. Let's say I'm somewhere there. I'm literally in between orange and green. Which one am I going to pick to go ahead and piggyback to? Probably the green because it has more rewards. Even though the orange is not like horrible or anything, the green just has better rewards. So that is how you break down these Uber Eats zones. And this is, when you're able to do this, this is how you reach the advanced level of the Uber Eats. You can just evaluate if an area is worth it or not and move on. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. You'll eventually be able to do this like in seconds. And using these factors, this is also why you can start in whatever city you live in, but you can take this information and go conquer any market. You just do everything in the first course, then you have your quadrants and your hotspots, and from here, guess what? You analyze all this data that you'll notice because you've been trained to notice it, then use that critical thinking I told you about in terms of the fundamentals to achieve the objective that you want with minimum effort. And then you can get creative about how you do that via hot streaks and stuff. So, that covers the Uber Eats zones. Me personally, that was my favorite section. It's probably the funnest. Everything else was leading up to this video, but we couldn't skip over all that stuff because it was fundamental. If we just jumped into this video, it would have been too much. It would have went over a lot of people's heads. But I'm very much looking forward to your questions and comments in the comment section below. If you found value in this video, you can show your appreciation by hitting the like. Subscribe if you're new, hit that bell icon so you can be notified when new content comes out from the App Lifestyle. And be sure to visit the website. You can click on that by clicking in the right-hand corner. And shoot. Until the next time, I will see y'all later in the closing video, which will be evaluating cities. Until the next time, peace out.